letter he sent them basically said something to the effect of, this guy that these people know, he's going to be a complete fly-by-night operator. He's going to do a really crap job. He's not going to clean up to our driveways, and he's not going to clean up to the post boxes. And so you need to stick with me. And he basically got half the street to say, no, we want, the neighbour to do it, because he's been doing the job and he knows what he's doing, and we can't trust this guy to do a proper job. Now, the fact that we got the guy to do a proper job when our neighbour went on vacation, we needed to get out, and he was nowhere to be found. And by the second day, it was sort of, no, we need the snow moved because we need stuff at the store and we need to go out. And he's not here. And we paid for that and couldn't get reimbursed for it, but it was a case of, well, it's not as expensive as idiot boy. So we were sort of we've had no problems with him, and he does do a proper job on the street. So there was this big hoo-ha, and he told us, you've got to pay me, or I'm going to put a lien on your house. And since half the street has voted for my services, you're basically out of luck. You have to do what the rest of the world's dictating to you. And at that point, we just decided we just don't want anything to do with this guy anymore. We're not going to talk to him. He can clear the roads. We'll pay him. But register our protest that he's not an efficient guy, he's not a convenient guy, he's not always there when you need him, but whatever. But this time it's come a case of the road is so bad. I mean, we've had a new kitchen, new deck installed this year, and our contractor was saying this road is really bad, it needs to be fixed. And we told him about the sand the previous year, and he's like, this road doesn't need sand, it needs a proper grading. And we said, yeah, we know, but neighbour doesn't want to do proper grading. He won't rent a small rake to put on the back of his tractor in order to do it himself. He won't authorise anybody else doing it. And he's basically told us, you want to get someone else to do it, you get the quotes, send it out, and we'll do it that way. And now when we're saying, okay, well, we've got the quote, this is how much it's going to cost, it's $30 more than you want to spend, that you wanted everybody to spend on patching again, which didn't work last year. And he's turned around and said, I'm not paying that, nobody else in the road is paying that. And the only reason nobody else on the road would not pay that is because he's gone around and basically told them not to. And we got a message from one of the residents who basically said, I'm not paying for any of that. And he said, well, it's pretty much the same, it's actually less than the $212 he wants now to do more patching, which we know doesn't work. But it gets to the point where, okay, we actually have the money that we can pay for the work without, it's an inconvenience, but it's not a case of, we're going to be in sore hardship to do this. We could subsidise the entire street, but why should I be subsidising everybody else in the street to get the road fixed? They've all demanded it needs fixed, according to Neighbour Boy. But Neighbour Boy, I think he's pretty much broken his credit stressed out, because he can't even go and buy $800 of sand, do the work, and then send out an invoice like what you're supposed to do. So we're kind of holding up his work because he wants $812 or $820 to go out and buy some aggregate, and we said no, and he obviously can't afford it off his own back. But I'm at the age I do not need this freaking stress. And my wife needs it even less, and she's basically said, we're done, we're moving. So, we are? Okay then. And then after she declared that, she went downstairs and started bagging up loads of old kids' clothes and any other piles of linens that were around. And after work last night, she said, okay, we're going down to Goodwill. I've got effectively an entire truckload of plastic bags of linens that we're getting rid of. Oh, okay then. So we're moving next week, huh? But who knows? But that's part of the reasons why streams this week have been sporadic, late, fraught with grief and everything else. Hopefully from next week, obviously the graders are going to come and grade the road, which will be a huge help. It won't be like playing Mud Runner in a two-wheel drive car every day to get out. And everybody won't pay us, so that'll be we can either say, well, to heck with it, we'll eat the cost and we're not going to do anything else for anybody else. And when he says, if you want it done, you get it, you get a quote, you do it, and and send out an invoice for us to get paid. He knows full well he's not going to pay when it starts. He's just saying, you go and spend your money on it, and then whistle in the wind. Now, we could go through the stress of going through small claims court and all that palaver, or we could just say, we can afford it, we'll just do it. To heck with it. There's probably two households on the street that will pay us. It's the tree. Although that tree might be not a tree. But so they may be stressed next week on one day. But apart from that, the rest of the week should be good. We don't have any kids in the house. So, probably not next week. I'm tired. I need to recoup. So I will stream on the days I usually stream. Probably the stuff I usually stream, although Mrs. O's is stressed out, so we might skip field mounted. And I'll fill that probably with the old stream farm if I have to. I cannot maintain the road up to my home because I am the last house on the road. So basically, I could tell him, you cannot come on my property, and I will take care of the holes on my property, which is not a cost-effective way of doing it when they're bringing in some heavy machinery and you're paying for it by the hour. And the hour starts when the machinery's stuck on the low loader and leaves their yard. So obviously doing the entire street costs $750, and doing our portion of the entire street would probably end up costing us $500. So just do the whole street. But then whenever he clears snow or patches the rest of the street, he's going to charge us anyway for doing that, and he's going to charge us the full freight, even if we tell him don't do the bit outside our house. He's going to do, he's still going to charge everyone. Basically the charge for using him is $125 every time he sits in his tractor and drives round and round for 2 hours or 3 hours, whether he does a good job or not. I tend to pay on results. If you do the work, it needs to get done, and it needs to get done properly. And let's turn that off. And I'll pay you for the work you've done. But he seems to have missed the point that as a contractor, you're paid for completing the work, not for the hours you put in doing the work. and he charges us, by the time he goes out. So if we said don't do our roadway because you're crap, he would still charge everyone $125 because he climbed into his tractor and did the rest of the street, and he would charge us for it because he has to do the rest of the street for us to be able to access our home. So it's not worth arguing about it, but we have made our feelings known. I mean, yes, if we lived at the front of the street, then we could do our bit and say, the rest of the street's your problem, don't come charging us, we're not going to charge you for giving you access to your end of the street. But we don't have that option. We did talk to a lawyer about it, and he didn't charge us for the talk, which was nice. But he basically says, you don't have a leg to stand on, these contracts are pretty much useless. So while they lay out procedure, they're almost unenforceable. But I think if we could go to a small claims court and basically say, okay, we paid to get the road graded because it needed it. It was $750, and everybody who hasn't paid owes us $150, and we can then get a judgment on that and go from there. And that's not difficult, and you have to do that yourself. But it's just the stress of taking potentially 5 households to court to get paid for doing work that you should get paid for. And Mrs. Osei and I are now at the point where we can do without the stress. Sure, we'll miss the money, but at the moment we've had so much stress with the kids the last couple of weeks, and the social services group that was dealing with the kids that we work with, that it's just a case of, look, they're less than honest, they're complete fly-by-night operators at times, and we're kind of done. We don't want to foster anymore. It's that bad. Oops. It's the backwards button. That's how bad it's got. We've worked with some nice people at that agency. The problem is the nice people move on to better jobs, and the bad people are still there. And apparently the old office manager quit a couple of years ago, and the new office manager is only the office manager because nobody else wanted the job, and she doesn't really know what she's doing, so the entire agency is rudderless. And so even the good workers know what they do, they know what their job is and they can do it, but when they need a management decision, there's no management decision forthcoming. The girls moved out on Wednesday to their new adoptive parents' home. And that was a fun day. We went out to church in the evening and had some ice cream, because that's what you do when that sort of thing happens. In fact, normally when kids leave our house, that's not what happens when kids leave. Typically when kids leave, Mrs. Osa gets upset and spends the evening crying because she's going to miss them. This time she wanted a party and we're going out to get some ice cream, because it really has been that stressful. When you've got a 6-year-old in the house who's telling her 4-year-old sister that she's thinking about using some knives to cut some stuff, that's sort of, okay, so all the sharp knives get locked in the office every night, and the key goes downstairs with me in bed, so she has to come through me, to get the key to get the knives. sort of, yeah, that's kind of the last straw. We're done with this child. We told social services what she's like, the treatment she's giving her younger sister, and it's, I mean, you look on the state adoption site and there are kids there who are not placed with their siblings for various reasons. So we know that under circumstances they will not place siblings together if one of them is a risk to the other. And from the treatment we saw from the 6-year-old, she is getting on for a level of abusive behaviour towards her younger sister. It's mostly mental. It's mostly getting her younger sister into trouble, so the younger sister has to go into timeout, lose privileges, go to a room, that sort of thing. But it's escalating. Everything she does escalates. And it's concerning. But social services don't think it's severe enough that they need to intervene. And so we're probably going to end up in a couple of years' time seeing 2 damaged kids rather than just the one. It's not our problem anymore. We voiced our concerns. Social services poo-pooed them. And so, okay, fine. It's your problem, but we want nothing more to do with that case. Which is a shame. When they moved in, the 4-year-old was troubled. Is a fair description. She did 4-year-old stuff. She got into trouble. And you kind of expect that. It's a new house. And over the 6 months we had them, she got, she got to understanding, okay, this behaviour is acceptable, this isn't. And when she did something that she knew was wrong, she would, I'm really sorry I did that. I won't do it again. And she wouldn't. And we were, perfectly happy with that. And the 6-year-old knew exactly what what was expected. These are the rules of the house, and she wanted nothing to do with it. She wants to be home with her mum, basically. Her mum had the kids taken away, and the kids apparently were put in foster care. And is that a phone? Oh yeah. And the kids were put in foster care, and then the courts decided the kids would be better off with a grandparent rather than a stranger. So they were taken out of that foster home and put in the care of the grandparents. And the grandparents were just as bad. And so the kids were taken from the grandparents and came into our care. But we've had 2 kids in the house who basically seem to regret having been moved. Now, in certain circumstances, you can't go back to your mum and dad. Your mum and dad have signed court documents to say they relinquish all claim. You can't go back to grandma and granddad because they were abusive. But it's sort of, well, I want to go to back to my grandfather and granddad because they were better than you guys. They let me get away with murder, basically. And no, that's not happening. Well, I'm going to misbehave until you throw me out and I have to go back there. And it's sort of, that's not how this works. We had another kid, similar situation. Foster parents have said, this kid needs to go, and he ended up at our house. And he was okay for a couple of days, or a couple of weeks, and then he went absolutely terror, misbehaving, and we said, yeah, this guy needs to be out of this house. Similar behaviours to the 6-year-old we just had, and you'd ask him, why are you behaving like this? Because I want to go back to my previous foster home. This foster home sucks. You're all mean. Well, yeah, we're mean. We have rules and we expect you to follow them, and when you don't follow them, there are consequences. They're not harsh consequences because they can't be harsh consequences because the kids are in government care and the government says what you can and can't do with kids, and so they're, the consequences are pretty much limited to you get to stand in the corner for 20 minutes or half an hour or whatever. But it's sort of, you guys are mean and I want to go back to my previous foster home. So he gets kicked out of our foster home. And of course he goes to a new one. And he's going to be okay there for a couple of weeks. Then he's just going to completely disregard all the rules again. And get in trouble and be put in time out. And he's going to start playing up. Because, usually the first thing, it's just a minor thing, but he gets put in time out. That's mean, and so he doesn't like you anymore because you're mean people, and he wants to go back to a previous foster home. And eventually it'll probably get to a point where we're one of the previous foster homes he wants to go back to, but he would never come back to us. No way. He's not entering my home ever again. And that 6-year-old is not entering my home ever again. That's that tractor. Where's the spreader? Oh, what are you doing? You finished, huh? You think? Let's have a look. Well, actually, you've done a fairly good job there. Seems going north-south on this field does work. So let's start the engine up and finish off this end bit. So, but outside of that, we've had some really great kids. And the one or two bad apples is one thing, but we started with this with the desire to adopt, potentially. Obviously, the first kids that came in, that almost went to full termination of parental rights, because Mum was totally neglectful and she didn't show up to visitations for over 6 months. And it had pretty much got to the point where the social worker was saying, you know what, I think we're barking up the wrong tree with this mother, and she's just not going to play ball. She doesn't want the kids. She has her issues, and she has mental issues in as far as she's got depression and need issues. I suppose you could say. She finds it difficult to keep relationships and stuff like that, and part of the problem, so that becomes a problem with reason why she's got so many kids by different men is because the way to keep a relationship going is to make babies. Okay, well, again, we did that field. Brakes on that side. I think we're wobbling down to line 1. So we'll go and do the grass field next. So as I said, they nearly had their mum's parental rights terminated, at which point they would have come up for adoption and we would probably have adopted them. Most of the rest of the kids we've had come through, there's nothing wrong with the kids. It's closed. It's just that one of them was someone in the house is abusing Mum, and we need to remove the kids for their own safety. Mum's been told, get rid of Dad. and you can have your kids back. And so basically she's made moves to get that done. And so the kids were in and out fairly quickly. Lovely kids, but yeah, no chance that any adoption process would ever go through. We've had others on fairly short term, a girl who was underage when the boy was born. He had medical issues and she wasn't addressing those, and so social services stepped in and insisted that she get her high school diploma and basically do some learn how to live in the world, you could say. And she figured all that out, and kid went back. And he was always happy to. He was a lovely, bubbly child. Always happy to see mum. And looked forward to his visits with her every week. And he went back. It was sad to see him go, but he's doing well. I think he now has a sibling. And mum has figured out how the world works and how you feed kids and how you take care of kids with medical needs. When we heard he was coming, it was sort of, we've got to get rid of all the peanut butter in the house and sterilise all the knives we've used to spread peanut butter on toast and all that sort of thing, because he did have some issues. So there's good points about fostering. Every so often one comes along that it's sort of, this child is going to be moving from foster home to foster home, eventually end up in a permanent care facility, and there's nothing you can do to fix that. Okay. Turn that on, go forward, let's be rolling. Press that button there, and it continues again. Out of the way and get our face covered in fertiliser. And I know who that is and what that's about, so I don't need to answer that. Okay, so we're all good there. That's still going.